gave enough thorough hints to anybody until now, when everybody's heads are together and everybody's clicking like, oh, he left a letter. Oh, my aunt said he left his beeper. Maybe he's hinting. Maybe, I think he left a lot of signs that nobody really thought of, to be honest with you.
Did he ever leave you any signs that you look back on now?
Never. No. It was just more or less, he just wasn't happy when we separated. I was his first girlfriend. But he never gave me any bad feelings of help or I need you right now. Nothing like that, because then I would have caught on way earlier. I would have definitely knocked on his mom's door and said, hey, something's going on here. Or I would have reached out to Jay or somebody, one of his friends. Sometimes I wish that would have happened, because then I would have been to the police before anybody else. I would have been, because I was Jack's definitely go-to. Like, he went for me, not saying he didn't go to his own family, because he adored his family, but on a relationship side, he definitely leaned towards me for a lot of things, but that definitely was not one of them.
Now, after he went missing, the detectives questioned you. Is there anything that you can tell me about what you knew about the investigation? Did they appear that they were really looking into the case?
Yes, without mentioning any names, a very, very, very good friend of the family is a detective who was not on the case, but has a lot of access to it. And my grandmother was on the phone quite often. She's one of those nosy birds. What's going on? Those, like I said, those two detectives just came in, writing away, and just walked out. They didn't really do much. But that detective kept calling my grandmother and saying, we are doing our best. We're doing our best. He said, there's only so much I can do. I'm not on the case, which is understandable. Sometimes I wish he would, because he was a damn good detective, and he's well retired now, but he definitely was trying to push the detectives to do what they had to do. And, unfortunately, I don't think that was the case. I don't think that they did what they were supposed to do.
In conversations with this detective, did they indicate what they thought could have possibly happened to Jack? What were they leaning towards? And if it was something criminal, did they have any suspects?
Well, they did, of course, ask me, did Jack have any erratic behavior? Did he have any enemies? The typical detective questions. Everything was no, not that I know of. Of course, they asked me, do you know Rob? Of course I know Rob. And I told them how I felt, and I told them exactly the truth. That's really all they asked me, was just those little bit of questions. And when was the last time you seen him? Have you heard from him? And I proceeded to tell him he currently is living with my aunt, and I know that they did go there. At that time, I didn't really hear much of anything. It's almost like, not that anyone let it go, it was the way it was at that time. It's like everybody was scratching their heads like, what's going on? Everybody was putting their heads together like, where could he be? I think it was almost like people thought that he disappeared, or I think that's what we were all thinking, like, or hoping that he just took off for a little bit and he'll be back.
Did you ever hear anything aside from the detective? Did anybody else say that they knew what could have possibly happened to Jack?
It's crazy because, I've heard about the T-shirt. I think we all did. I heard about, he was dropped off at they found his body in the water out here. And not to sound any type of way, but I laughed at every single thing. And I said, this is just a bunch of BS. Everybody thinks it's either a joke. This is somebody's son. This is somebody's brother. And I knew from the get-go, I understand that everybody wanted to know, hey, let's go and see that T-shirt. Let's go. I never thought for a second it was him, because it didn't seem right to me. Some people say they seen him on the ferry. A lot of people swore they seen him on the ferry. A very, very good friend of mine said she saw him. And she said, Tammy, I know it was him. I know he looked right at me and kept going. And I said, I don't know about that. And if he is in trouble, why would he be by Fire Island somewhere? So I think it's just, everybody just wanted to see him, and somebody that looked like him. Everybody was like, oh my God, could that be Jack? Jack had that look like nobody looked like him, I feel like. He had this certain attire, that hat that he always wore, It's just, I don't know. I just never really thought that any of it was actually true. I don't know. I mean, I still can't be a believer of it, to be honest with you. I personally, and I always thought, and a lot of my family members thought, that a lot of people were playing pranks. There's a lot of cruel people in this town, and I think there's a lot of people that were pulling a lot of pranks. And I possibly think that, I think, and I have to say, if Rob had anything to do, not if, he definitely had something to do with it. He was dumb, but he wasn't that dumb. I personally do not think he's going to leave his marks behind. And if he's going to do something, he's going to do it far away from here. He's not going to hurt, God forbid, I hate to say it, murder somebody in his own hometown. That's my gut feeling.
From our understanding, Jack was last seen getting into a black truck by G&K Deli, but there was more than one person in the truck.
Oh, I 100% believe it, because Rob can't do nothing, and he won't do anything on his own. He won't let he will not get his hands dirty, because that's why I said he always was very dirty with me and Jack. He would always talk about, I know a lot of people. So it does make a lot of sense. 100%. He had somebody do it for him.
Do you have any idea who else could have potentially been in the truck with him?
No, you know why? Because if anybody would tell you, Rob was a loner. Rob drove around town all by himself. I never ever seen a friend. The only person I've ever seen was the mother of his child. I met her once or twice. Very quiet, didn't have much to say, but I've never seen another male. But I'm sure he knew people, because he was a big-time drug dealer. He didn't only sell weed. That guy had to have been on some type of other drugs, because he was always high as a kite. And I used to tell Jack, he's not smoking weed, honey. He's on some other shit. And that makes me believe that if he's dealing drugs, like coke or something, he has connections everywhere. So I have a feeling that, like I said, it makes all sense now. He left my aunt's house, left his beeper, left his wallet, told my aunt, I'm stepping out. So she thought that he was doing what he normally does. Okay, didn't think anything of it. He walks there to meet them, knowing that he knows something's going to happen. It's almost like he knew that he was in trouble, but why? What the hell did he do wrong? In my eyes, and why did Rob have, like I said, Rob was a loner. Why did he have other male in his truck? Like, what was going on where you needed other people in the car? Because you never ever picked Jack up, especially with me, with other people. It was always you by yourself, solo. So he had every intention on doing what he had to do with Jack that night. I had and always had an on and off relationship with Anthony. I haven't spoken to him in a couple of years, but I have to say that he would know a lot more than me, because he was living with Anthony and my Aunt Debbie at the time. They used to hang out downstairs, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jack had the room downstairs in the basement, and that's where Anthony stayed too.
Okay.
So Anthony would know a lot more than me. Any conversations, when guys are together, they're hanging out, they're smoking, shit gets let out. So I'm sure that there has been some conversations, or hoping there was some type of conversations that, Anthony didn't catch on to. And hopefully there might be some bells clicking now, like, oh my God, he said this to me. He said that to me. He mentioned this one's name,
And now him and Jack were pretty tight too.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so weird, because when he met Jack, I don't even remember how they clicked, but all of a sudden it's almost like he took Jack away from me. They were like two peas in a pod, and they were so close. And I remember when me and Jack parted, I found out through my aunt that Jack was living there, and every time I had a conversation with my cousin Anthony, and I remember telling Anthony, just stay friends with him, because he's a good guy, and that he did. He definitely was loyal to Jack. He definitely was. And I know, oh Lord, when Jack disappeared, I couldn't even be around Anthony. He wanted to murder somebody, like literally. And I don't mean to say that on recording, but he wanted to hurt somebody. He wanted to go out looking for him. He wanted to go out looking for anybody. And he adored that guy so much. It broke a lot of hearts. Still to this day, 20 years later, I get sentimental talking about it. I get more sentimental hearing other voices, because it's, I can't imagine my own brother disappearing and not knowing where he is for 20 years. It's pure, it's evil. It's disgusting, to hurt somebody like that, or potentially hurt somebody, A part of me really hopes and prays that he actually went into protective custody. That would make everybody's life so much easier. Why? There'll be question marks all over the top of our heads, but I would hope to say that he's still alive. I don't think that t-shirt was his. I really don't. I don't think Rob would put his markings in his own town where everybody knows him. I don't think so. I want to say something. With all these detectives around and everything, they can almost do anything with blood nowadays. Anything. You couldn't trace that blood to anybody's DNA. You couldn't do it. If they were stupid enough to leave a t-shirt on the floor, then that means they were stupid enough to leave some type of other evidence. Does that make any sense? So where is this other DNA? Who are these other people? Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think that t-shirt was his. I do understand where Javen is coming from in the sense of, oh, that was Jack's wife beater because he wore it, such a large size. And I think everybody just wanted some type of a piece of evidence or something. I mean, if it was his t-shirt, I'll be damned. Because following that, he was found by the water and everybody was driving by the water over here. What's that place? You know where the old Latikins used to be, that little lake? A lot of people were saying, his body was found there. And I'm like, 2 days before his t-shirt was by the school. Come on. I mean, I don't believe it. I mean, even though Jack was a big boy and he could fend for himself, but how many people were in that truck? And you know what? Oh my God. And this is another thing. The detective kept telling my grandmother, Rob was taking so many lie detector tests. And this detective told my grandmother he failed so many times. How the hell did he walk out? Why was he not arrested? I remember my grandmother telling me, because she did continuously call the detective and ask questions. And my grandmother said, this guy, Rob, failed a lot of lie detector tests. And I said, so in my mind, oh shit, they're going to get him. That's right. In my head. Whoever knew him knew he was up to no good all the time. And me, from straight on sitting in this freaking back seat of his black car, speeding up and down William Floyd Parkway, just talking about, Jack, I can kill this person. I got a gun on my back. And all I kept thinking was, this guy is really crazy. Like, he let himself out. He gave us all the answers. Me especially. Wow. It's just sad. Sometimes, I listened to that over and over again about that letter. And I said to myself, where is this letter? I want to see it. I want to see the handwriting. I want to see something. Why would he say, meet me at the lighthouse? What does that mean to any of us? Is he saying he's somewhere on a different island, a country? Where's the lighthouse? Everybody was messaging me. Where the flip is that letter? I want to see it, even though a lot of people don't know Jack's handwriting. But you can tell by the wording. Like, I know how Jack spoke. I know how he worded things. I know. We can tell. But my thing is, it also makes me think the way he left. He left his beeper. He wrote a letter. Did he really disappear? This is where I am. Come find me. It makes me want to investigate at every lighthouse on the island, everywhere. Like, is he there? Is he hidden somewhere? Like, people disappear and they can't talk to their families. But was that his way of reaching out to somebody in Colombia, knowing that the cops or detectives can't get to that letter? Which makes sense. I was very close to Stella. And throughout the years, I did see Stella every so often. And I will never, ever forget. I think this was before I had my boys, when I only had my daughter. And I remember telling her, I would love for you to meet Ashley one day. And she started crying. She said, oh my God, you have a baby girl. And I said, yeah, I do. And she said, come to my house, Tammy. Come to my house. I'll cook for you. Stella loved to cook. And she said, every night, and this had me choked up forever. She said, every night when I make a plate for everybody, I make a plate for Jack. And my heart just fucking dropped right there. And I didn't know what to say. I was dumbfounded. And I said, I'm sorry, Stella. And she goes, oh, no, he's coming home. Like, she was just so confident that her son was going to walk right through that door. And like I told you with our last conversation, when she seen me, the last time I seen her was in the supermarket. My son was with me. And when she hugged me, when she let go of me, she said, when I look at you, I see my son. It's like, how do you react to something like that? I don't think for a second she thought about her son being gone. She thought about Jack walking through that door like he always did. It's just very sad because I don't know, like, personally, I don't know what I would do. Like, I have 3 kids and my life depends on my kids. Like, I'm not Tammy without any one of my children, And I don't know how that woman stayed strong for 20 years before her dying day. Like, that's not something that I take very easy. Like, that holds heavy on my heart, you know, and even though I'm distant from all the guys now,